on down. And it's a misdemeanor, Piers, mind you. And rather than simply call me up and say, hey, self-surrender, they do a circus raid with 5 armed FBI agents. They take down me and my fiance, who's on the cover here. They perp walk her. Tell CNN in advance that it's going to happen. They make it a big spectacle. And the agent, Walter Giardina, who put me in charge, turns out to be the same guy who greenlit the Steele dossier against President Trump, which was fake. He said it was real, allegedly, whistleblowers. And that spawned the whole Russia hoax. And then Piers, you can't make this up. I go to court thinking, well, look, I did what I was supposed to do. I'll be able to argue that in court. No. The judge, Ahmed Mehta, said, nope, you can't argue that. Yeah, I had no defense by the time I got into trial. And then the District of Columbia, I don't know if you know this, Piers, but it voted, I think it was 92% for Joe Biden. It's the bluest of blue places in America. The jury pool's drawn from that. The judge allowed anti-Trump people on the jury. They convicted me. And then rather than let me, again, you can't make this up, rather than let me be free pending appeal, which is always the case in these kind of cases, they denied me that. And so I spent 4 months in a Miami prison. I was there, get this, Piers, the director of the Bureau of Prisons kept me there 42 days longer than the law provides because she could, a Democrat. My case is under appeal. It's going to the Supreme Court. It's like a sleepy case, but it's a landmark constitutional case. And if I lose that case, Piers, every single senior White House advisor going forward, regardless of party, Democrat or Republican, will face the same kind of choice that I had to face, which is honor my oath of office, do my duty, respect executive privilege, risk prison, and wind up in prison as it would turn out, or bend the knee to a Congress which was simply trying to engineer an interference with the election and to try to put Donald Trump in prison. That's what American politics has come down to, sir.
Yeah, I just think
it's shameful, it's wrong, and it's becoming more violent.
Yeah, I think the politicization of the law by everybody, actually, in politics, wherever you are, it's just so...
I mean, I hate when Piers does this, man. To everybody, but we have the evidence already, man. It's like you cannot hold these people accountable, man.
Dangerous, because ultimately...
Everybody.
That is not what the law is supposed to be there for. It's not supposed to be used as a political tool against your opponents. Peter Navarro, it's a fascinating book. I went to prison so you won't have to, but I also found what you said about the Charlie Kirk murder fascinating, and interesting what Elon Musk will say in response to what you said about what he should do with X. So thank you very much indeed for joining me. I appreciate it.
I appreciate the time, Piers.
Well, join me to discuss that and the wider issue of the Charlie Kirk murder. The host of The Crucible,
make sure
Andrew
you like
Wilson,
and
host and
subscribe
executive
to the
producer
channel.
of the
Really
Young
helps a lot.
Turks, Anna Kasparian, the professor, philosopher and activist, Dr. Cornel West. And I'll start with Jack Posobiec, who's the senior editor at Human Events and a close friend of Charlie Kirk. Well, Jack, good to have you on Uncensored. My deepest sympathies to you as one of Charlie's many friends. Absolutely horrific murder, cold blood execution. And we're now seeing all the fallout from this. What is your view of the reaction to what has happened with Charlie Kirk? I played at the start of this a rapper brazenly celebrating his death, then lying about celebrating it. But there's been so much of that. What do you feel about that? Today's show is brought to you by Oxford Natural, makers of the...
Shut up, don't care. Don't care.
Yeah, well, Piers, thanks for having me on again. And, I don't even know how to put it in words. I wake up on Wednesday, routine day, Charlie's going to campus, I'm covering the show. And then minutes later, I get footage of my friend getting murdered on live TV, and then I wake up the next day and I see thousands of people celebrating it and cheering it, and here's a concert hall full of people clapping and laughing, and a rapper cheering it on. And we've got a big problem, Pierce. We've got a big problem where people have just, I feel like they've lost their humanity. I think that they've lost humanity, and they've lost sight of and been totally dissociated with humanity and with reality. And I think there's some kind of social, spiritual cancer that's going on to take someone who is a young man, who's a husband, who's a father of 2 young children. I saw the family this weekend, and just because of social media, or you think someone's just an influencer, just someone to disagree with, that I can get away from them. Well, it's not that. It's a real person. We're all real people, and I think we've all lost sight of that.
Has it made you more concerned about your own safety? You're a high-profile conservative. You're out there, you're doing events, you're talking. How do you feel? A lot of people must be asking themselves this question: what now, in terms of your security and so on?
Well, Piers, look, there are people who did this. This was an evil act. This was not an accident. And obviously we need to be secure. Every event going forward, we need to make sure that there is pure security. Obviously, the question of outside events is something that's going to have to be discussed and considered, whether or not we can properly secure that, not just for those of us who might be on the microphone, but the people and the students and employees and staff who are going to be at these events, and even just regular students on campus. I mean, campus security, or all security. But the problem is that we've entered into a very dark place, and I fear that until we really start to deal with this cancer that's been metastasized throughout our society, we're still going to be living with this threat.
When Elon Musk addressed this very large crowd in London on Saturday, and said that the only way to respond to this violence from the left is to fight back, many have interpreted that to mean, if need be, violently. Do you feel that is ratcheting up the rhetoric too far, or do you think he meant something else?
I didn't hear all of Elon's speech. I've been dealing with other things this weekend. But look, in terms of fighting back, obviously, I think that we need to continue Charlie's mission, fight the way that Charlie fought, do politics the right way, fight with our words, fight with our...
Do you know what's crazy about this kind of message, fighting back with the word? I think that it is the right message. It is the right message. Now, here's the thing. What if the person or the people that you're fighting against with, quote unquote, share no political system or no cultural or religion system with you? Nothing. What do you do there? What do you do there? I've seen Andrew Wilson in these extravaganza kind of live that he does, and he exposed a lot of communists and being okay with what happened with Charlie Kirk, and they're okay with just how they call it, meeting God. They're okay with just allowing people to just meet God.
Ideals,
I don't know, guys.
With dialogue, with speech. I've always stood for freedom of speech. Charlie always stood for freedom of speech. And when it comes to anyone who is perpetuating, though, this cancerous ideology, and of course, that is perpetuating violence and excusing or encouraging violent ends, then that would cross the barrier, I would say, into law enforcement, and having law enforcement action, local, state, federal, whatever the appropriate manner would be, under color of law, would be, of course, to try to prevent and intervene before one of these horrific acts once again takes place. And of course, we heard FBI director come out this morning and say that there were people who were discussing this in the open even before it took place. Obviously, all of that has to be investigated. But Piers, we in the United States, we used to have a huge problem of serial killers and other behavioral issues in society that we dealt with from a national standpoint. And I think we need to really step back, have that conversation, and figure out what the right national, federal response is going to be.
Anna Kasperin, what was your immediate reaction when you heard about what had happened to Charlie Kirk and presumably at some stage saw the video?
Well, it started with absolute shock, followed by despair, followed by fear of what this means for the country and how things could potentially and very likely devolve further. You know, Charlie and I had multiple debates and conversations, and what I really appreciated about Charlie, and I've said this multiple times, was that even though we had disagreements, he had a huge platform and was inviting to people like me to make my case to a completely different audience about my point of view, why I believe things that I believe. And that's what is supposed to make America great.
It's supposed to. It's supposed to, if we are sharing the same what? The same moral frame. It's supposed to, if we are sharing the same moral frame. Clearly we're not. Clearly we're not. And this is where the Andrew Tate comes into play. We can talk about freedom of speech if we're talking with people that share the same values, meaning that we are agreeing in the parameters of what freedom of speech is. But clearly her side doesn't do that. And there's still people believing that this guy's still right-winger, right? The guy, the unalive, Charlie, they still think that he's a right-wing group or whatever.
To live in a pluralistic society where people have differences of opinion,
she's part of the problem
but can engage with one another in good faith and make their case. You know, I was recently on Tucker Carlson's show for a pretty lengthy interview, and after that interview ended, Tucker Carlson let me know that Charlie Kirk reached out to him and said that he loved the interview and would like to have me on his show. That's the kind of person Charlie Kirk was. Now, that's not to take away from the things that I vehemently disagreed with him on, but engaging in violence is an act of cowardice. It's what losers do. It's what people who are unable to articulate their arguments effectively resort to. That's my take on what happened to Charlie Kirk. And I have to say, the video of him getting killed was one of the most disgusting, horrific things I've seen, and I can't get that image out of my mind. It's seared in my mind.
Well, thank you for saying what you just said. Very clear. What has been truly shocking to me is not just the murder itself, which was obviously just horrific, as was the video. And I agree, it's very hard to ever lose that image of what happened. But the reaction from young people in particular on the left, I have to say, I have found absolutely sickening. The glee, the celebration, the TikToks, the general, the behavior of this rap band, Bob Dylan, and then the lying about the fact they were clearly celebrating in the most despicable manner what had happened to Charlie Kirk. You know, I've got no problem with people appraising Charlie Kirk's record and criticizing him where they feel he was wrong about stuff. That's fine. That happens to every public figure when they die. But to gleefully celebrate the cold-blooded execution of a 31-year-old father of two, I just found crossed every line of humanity. And I guess, Anna, you know, a lot of these young people, you've met a lot of these young people on the left. What is going on with young people on the left? And I'm not just saying, I'm not for a moment saying there aren't young people on the right that have similar mindsets about their opponents. But what is going on with these young people on the woke left who genuinely look at that and think this is something to celebrate? Hello and welcome. We begin with some breaking.
Well, I'm going to answer the question, but let me just note that there are different factions on the left. And I think the way that this is kind of being discussed in a way that just kind of generalizes everyone on the left is kind of unfair. But putting that aside, I do think that we have an overall problem. I think what happened is a symptom of a bigger issue that we have, not just in this country, but I'm seeing it happen globally, where there's just this dehumanization of people based on their political views. And on top of that, the devaluing of human life, right? I mean, we've been seeing
But where did that started, though? Devaluating the human life. Where did that started? By what? Pressing the delete button on babies. That's where it started, guys. The most pressure and the most vulnerable humans have been dehumanized. That's where it started.
Of people being butchered, children being butchered endlessly on social media over the last nearly 2 years. Prior to that, I mean, the rhetoric that devalues human life, I think, has played a role into it. But also, I just think that there's this dumb idea that all you need to do is like get rid of or take out some of the prominent figures on the political side of the aisle that you disagree with, and that'll somehow solve the issue. No, that doesn't solve the issue. What it does is it makes the situation in various countries where this type of political violence plays out far worse. Now you're hearing talk of retaliation in a violent way. When it comes to the Trump administration, you're hearing, policies that are being proposed that would limit the legitimate political speech of Americans. I am concerned about that. What that disgusting murderer did is he pushed for this country to devolve further. And I wish that cooler heads would prevail, but at the same time, I don't begrudge people who are angry. I mean, that poor wife and her 2 children witnessed Charlie Kirk get shot and killed in the neck. I don't begrudge her at all for being furious. No. I can't even imagine where my headspace would be at right now if that happened to my husband.
Right. Andrew Wilson, where were you when you heard about Charlie Kirk, and what is your view of the fallout from this?
Yeah, I was sitting with my wife watching TV. So the thing is I remember this picture circulating around of Charlie Kirk. He was debating the incoming president of the Oxford Union, and they were all smiles and handshakes. And by the next day, this guy was saying the most insane rhetoric about how he basically had it coming. So how many of these leftists have murderous intent? When we show up to have a conversation with them, we show up to debate our views, we show up to in some way engage with them. How many of them have seething murderous intent behind their eyes, and they don't really want to do any of that? They really want you dead. And that is the biggest demonstration of that, by the way, in that one single picture. You have Anna Kasparian here, and she's talking about this. The Young Turks called Charlie Kirk a fascist. How many times?
There we go. Let's go.
The Young Turks played into this rhetoric. How much? They went out of their way to do so. Ruben recently called him out for doing it. So I just hang on.
I've literally never. I don't even call Trump a fascist.
I didn't interrupt you once, lady.
But
You'll
you can't make things
talk.
up about what I said about
you
Charlie Kirk.
You can talk when I'm done talking, like I was respectful enough to let you do. So the thing is
Let's go,
yes, they
no
do.
Simping.
This network does do that, and these leftists do that, and they set all the rhetoric up in the world to make sure something like this happened, and they were dancing on the grave of this guy before he was even cold. I have tweets from Destiny which are insane. The leftists have gone off the reservation. And it's time for us to stop pretending that it's not their rhetoric which is leading to these types of assassinations, because it is. I don't want to hear about factions. All of you guys are doing this. All of you guys have the same type of rhetoric which leads to this, or the networks you work for do.
Wow, let's go,
Anna, let
Andrew.
me let you respond to that before I bring Cornel in.
I've never called him. I have never called Charlie Kirk a fascist, number one. In fact, if anything, we have received a tremendous amount. I don't remember Trump. I don't remember Cenk calling Charlie Kirk a fascist. In fact, Cenk and I got into a debate about whether or not. Hold on. I don't remember Cenk calling Charlie Kirk a fascist. He called Trump a fascist, and he and I got into a debate about that. But to lump in everyone on the left together, I don't agree with Destiny on anything these days. Destiny is totally unhinged in his rhetoric, 100%. I have been critical of Charlie Kirk's political views, but going around referring to people as Nazis, turning the temperature up, I did not engage in that. So I just want you to at least be fair about what I've actually said about Charlie.
There's no actual reason for us to believe leftists at this point. It's very clear that while they come out with a handshake and wanting to have these conversations, they claim.
Come on. She's not a lefty, guys. She's not a lefty. Oh, no, I'm not a lefty. This is what happened when they knew that the room was getting hot. They just got out of the room. That's what it is. I'm not a leftist. I'm independent. I am an independent. That's the biggest cop out, man, when it comes down to politics. Allegedly, she's not independent. A lefty now. Come on.
Right? In reality, what they're doing is they have murderous intent, and they'll celebrate you the day that you die. The next day, they'll go after your wife. Thousands of social media accounts going after her wife, or this guy's wife, after she made a speech about her poor husband. Yes, it is your side that's doing that. Like it or not, it's your side that's doing that. There's no equivalency between the right and the left on this.
I'm not a lefty.
Okay, fine. You're not a leftist. I'm sorry. Are you on the left wing? Are you a Democrat? Are you more of a Democrat than you are a Republican? Do you move towards those types of issues?
I'm not a Democrat. I actually registered as an independent.
There we go. What did I tell you, y'all? What did I tell you, y'all? This is the playbook. Hey, I'm an independent also. I don't identify as a Democrat. It's because the room got too hot. Because the room got too hot, now they want to get out of the room.
Fine. You register as an independent.
Come on, you gotta at least know what my views are if you're going to attack me.
All right, let me bring in. All right, let me bring in.
Pierre, shut up here. Let them just have it. This is important.
Left over the last 3 years.
All right, let me bring in.
No. Look. I've been attacked by the left. No, let me, Pierce, let me just at least address that. I've been attacked viciously by leftists over the last 3 years because of the fact that I want to engage in this type of dialogue, because of the fact I was willing to sit down with Charlie Kirk and with Tucker Carlson and Ben Shapiro.
Nothing.
I'm willing to have conversations, and I don't go around labeling people as fascist and racist and Nazis just because I disagree with them.
Just the organization you work for does?
At least understand what my political views are. Listen. I'm not going to be blamed for what everyone in that company has to say. Anyone in that company has to say.
The
I'm
head
an individual.
of that company?
We are supposed to judge people based on individuals. He did not go around calling Charlie Kirk a fascist and a Nazi.
Saying that you don't have good reasoning skills. If it's the case that you think, oh my God, you can't be calling people Nazis. You can't be calling people Nazis while your boss does all the time.
Why are you making that up? You're just making it up. You're just making it up. We're all the same. That's how simple-minded you are. You're all the same. Okay, then everyone on the right is just like Dylan Roof.
All right. Let me bring in. I want to bring in Cornel West. I want to bring in Cornel West. I want to bring in Cornel.
Andrew's bringing the fire because he knows what time is up. They think that they can simply just escape the rhetoric and not be responsible for that. Stupid.
Shut up,
please. Let Cornel come in now. He's been waiting very patiently. Cornel, welcome back to
he likes it too.
Uncensored, where things are getting incendiary quite quickly. I think the overriding point I would make about the debate we've just been hearing between Andrew and Anna is that there is little doubt to me that the constant rhetoric on the left, the woke left, let me be specific to where I think a lot of the blame lies, ever since Donald Trump came into power in 2016, has been this relentless use of the phrases Hitler, Nazis, fascists about Trump and about Trump supporters. And the problem with constantly saying this as a group, as the woke left have done for 9 years now, is that eventually it permeates down to young, impressionable minds who genuinely believe that it is their mission to stop America from being taken over by the new Nazis or the new fascists or the new Hitler. And that leads to the kind of thing we saw with Charlie Kirk. Do you agree that this language, this relentless, in my view, woeful misuse, particularly of the word Nazi, towards Trump and his supporters, this is part of the problem?
Well, I think part of the deeper problem, though, Brother Pierce, is that the organized greed and weaponized hatred and routinized indifference toward the vulnerable has come together in such a way that it has eroded the sources of character formation, so that integrity, honesty, decency, and self-critical sensibilities of individuals and groups is more and more disappearing.
What?
So you end up with because hatred itself is promiscuous, just like greed.
This dude, bro.
Just like indifference toward the suffering of others. It's promiscuous. It will lie with the left, right, center. It lies with Christians. It lies with Muslims. It lies with Jews. It lies with Buddhists. It lies with Hindus.
Dude, bro.
And human beings were so wretched in the first place. If we don't undergo some kind of spiritual and moral cultivation, we end up falling back on greed and hatred and indifference. And I mean, the American empire at this moment is one in which the lethal combination of the hatred and the greed and the indifference generates very much the exchange that we just saw. You see, this brother right here says, well, all leftists want to see me dead. Well, I'm a leftist. I don't want to see you dead. I'm a Christian.
You called Trump's administration a neo-fascist movement, you lunatic. People have gone out
You're
of
absolutely
your way.
right.
Exactly. So what's worse than that? And meeting God, like meeting God in that case will be the worst on that case. And like, why wouldn't you stop a fascist? Okay, how do you stop a fascist? But you know how you stop it.
You have gone out of your way.
Let me make the case. Let me make the case. Let me make the case. Will you allow me to speak, brother? Come on, man. Come on. No. You haven't made the case. If you think I've made the case, then you're not interested in dialogue.
You just said this brother over here said this.
You're very, very different than Brother Charlie, man. You're very different than Charlie, though, man. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
and I can make the case for that,
people
too.
like you that got that man killed, sir.
There we go. I love Andrew. Yo, he's calling these. He has. You know what's crazy about Andrew Wilson? He's ready for the fight. He's ready for a fight. He has a little bit of that street kind of him, and he's ready. He's ready to call them out. He's not letting this like, let's just be peaceful. Yeah, no, he's ready for it.
There are such a thing as neo-fascists. But Pierce, why you have a brother on who's not gonna allow nobody to speak, man? We're just wasting time. If all you're interested in is making your money, and you bring this brother on, and nobody can say a word, and we can't even mourn Brother Charlie passing. I had dialogues with Brother Charlie. This brother's gonna say, this kumbaya and so forth. No. Charlie was made in the image of a loving and mighty God. I believe that. I say my prayers for Sister Erica and the kids because this brother wants to trash my Christian sensibility. And look at him laughing now. It's a joke, man. Pierce, it's not worth it.
Is Charlie Kirk part of the neo-fascist movement?
Not with this brother.
Is he part of your neo-fascist movement?
Not with this brother.
Yeah.
When Charlie himself says that he is against Civil Rights Act,
whatever,
does that make him a proponent of Jim Crow when he calls Martin Luther King Jr. an awful human
there it
being?
is. Yeah. There it is.
I'm critical of that. I am critical of that. You're absolutely right, Brother Wilson. You're absolutely right. But if all you're going to do is be arrogant, you're arrogant just like the so-called leftists you're talking about. But Pierce, you making your money, brother. Go on and make your money, man.
It's all about making.
Not worth it.
Cornel,
this brother right here
making
is
money.
part of the problem. This other brother who has a deep connection to Charlie.
Andrew's ready for it, bro.
Willing.
He knows. He's ready. He's doing the job, right, guys. This is what we have to do. We don't need to be violent. We don't need to just, we don't need to go Civil War, 1861. We don't need none of that stuff. We need this. We need this. Not be fearful. Don't have fear. He knows the truth. He's not going to allow these demons to just basically just cross over, just brush this under the rug. We're not going to do that. Andrew knows it. He needs to call them out because their rhetoric was part of this, guys.
To at least listen, but this brother's not willing to
Cornel,
listen.
Can you sit down? I would like you to remain part of the debate.
Let him go. Let him go.
This is ridiculous.
He doesn't have the argument. Let him go.
This is ridiculous. He's smoking his cigarettes with his arrogance.
There we go. See, there we go. Let's go.
We don't have no dialogue at all.
Surely you're not going to walk out in a debate about dialogue.
More?
Go on and make your money, man.
Go make your money, man.
Well, there's a kind of farcical to quit a debate where we're literally debating about the importance of free speech and being able to listen to each other's opinions, which seems to me completely insane. Anyway, we've lost Cornel West for now. Maybe we'll get him back. Well, Andrew Wilson referred to Destiny's insane tweets a little earlier, which were disavowed by
here we go.
Annika Sperin. Well, Destiny joins us now. Destiny, you've been quite active on social media since Charlie Kirk's death, when Erica Kirk posted Charlie's coffin, you responded, she tagged him, brackets, crying face emojis. In response to Alina Haber's tweet ordering people to fly their flags at half-mast in memory of Charlie, you posted on X buying flags and poles just to fly them fully erect.
What the
And you
F,
then
bro?
posted yesterday, ending every conservative debate call out I'd do in 2026 with "Don't dodge, bro." That's not what Charlie would have wanted.
Oh my God.
I mean, do you think that your response to the cold-blooded murder of Charlie Kirk has been appropriate?
Yes. I think that the only way this country moves forward into a better world is when conservatives can finally realize that they need to turn the temperature down on their side. We are
It's our fault, folks. It's our fault. We are the one destroying the cities. We are the one just causing us in the last, 5, I would say 3, just to be more accurate. The last 3 terrorists unaliving people. It was our fault. So we're the one destroying the cities when something doesn't go our way. We're the one just really just throwing the government away when things don't go our way. We're the one always protesting. Like, with the elimination of Charlie Kirk, if you're talking about a moment in the United States where you could see a civil war, this will be the perfect moment. But you don't see them just go crazy.
Years
This dude, man.
into whatever this Trump madness is, and there is not a single mainstream conservative that will call for a lowering of the temperature on their side. I think that liberals need to wake up and finally realize that if they're not willing to do it, it will never
He's
come
calling
down.
for it, y'all.
If you wanted Charlie Kirk to be alive,
calling for
Donald
it, y'all.
Trump shouldn't have been president for the second term.
Oh.
Every time he's in office, this happens. People joked about when Biden came in, it was so boring, nothing was going on. 7 out of 10 of the largest protests in American history have happened under Donald Trump. All of the recent political violence that's happened in this country over
So Chas doesn't count. Seattle doesn't count. Inauguration day doesn't count. None of this stuff counts, guys.
the past 20 years.
Hey, 2020 during the COVID doesn't count. None of that stuff
The majority of it, the overwhelming majority of it, everybody gets mad because they keep asking Grok about it, has been conservative.
Who shot Charlie Kirk?
A guy from Utah who was raised in a Christian family, who was a 22-year-old
A guy
white
described-
dude. He wasn't
Destiny.
trans. He
No,
didn't have
Destiny.
a trans
Okay.
girlfriend. He didn't have any trans
Right.
influences. He didn't have any trans bullets. Yeah, I'm sorry, you guys were wrong
See, that's a lie. You see, he's lying through his teeth.
on all of that.
To be clear, the governor
He's lying through his teeth, guys. And I will show you. There's a new tweet.
of
me see.
Utah, Spencer
Now, this
Cox, has
guy,
made
bro.
it clear that their investigation has now established that he had been radicalized by a leftist ideology, which drove him to do this. That's just
I'm sorry,
bro.
excuse me, when?
yesterday he said that. The
No.
governor
When was he radicalized? In the 6 months that he did remote college? Not
I don't
the
know when he
18
was
years that
radicalized, but I do
because
know.
what you just said
I
is
do
not
know
true.
the very
No, that's
reasonable
not true.
sounding governor of Utah
No.
has made
No,
it
it's not
clear
true.
that the
No, he
event.
hasn't made it
You may
clear.
not want
He
to
said
hear
this is an
this.
ongoing investigation.
You may not
No,
want to
you don't
hear
wanna
it,
hear it,
Destiny,
Piers.
but the reality is the investigators, according to the governor of Utah, have established that he was radicalized to a leftist ideology that drove him
That's
to
crazy.
murder Charlie Kirk. Now, let me just
that's
ask you.
just not true.
Let me just
There's
ask
no
you.
way
well,
to deal with it. You're
Okay,
living in a
accusing the
delusional
governor of
fantasy.
lying.
Yeah.
That's your prerogative. But
Sure.
if it turns out to have been somebody with a leftist ideology who wanted to shut up Charlie Kirk, would you condemn that?
He's not going to condemn it. He's not going to condemn it. He doesn't want to condemn it. At this point, he haven't condemned the if he haven't condemned any of these actions in the last 5 years, he's not going to do it now.
I won't condemn anything until the president of the United States can go on air and say, all of us need to calm down.
So
The
you
fact
won't
that he
condemn
can go
the
on
murder of
Fox and
Charlie
Friends-
Kirk
I'm
until
just-
Donald Trump says
Piers,
something.
I'm a YouTuber. Leftists and Democrats have been condemning and turning down the temperature, condemning violence, turning down the temperature for a decade. Donald Trump can't go on TV and say, all of us need to calm down.
Right.
Can you tell me why he cannot?
Why
tell
would you
his
expect
side to
anybody,
calm down?
Destiny?
You
What-
can't answer that. Can you answer that question? Why
Okay,
can't
can
Trump
you
go on
answer
TV
this
and say,
question?
all of us should be less violent?
Why do you
can't
think-
Trump say that?
why do you
Why is
think-
your
Trump say that?
behavior
I feel like
contingent
I'm
on Donald
insane
Trump?
right now.
Why do you
is
think? No,
your
let me
behavior
ask a
contingent
question.
on Donald Trump?
Let me
Why
ask
is
a
that? Because
question.
he's the president of the United States of America and the leader.
So he thinks he's in the same level the president of the United States, guys. That's what it is. He thinks that he's in the same level.
leader of the opposing political party.
Destiny. Let me
You
just...
have a huge audience of young men.
He might be in something. You know, when the Joe. You know, I'm just assuming here, but he's going like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Listen to everything you have to say. So when it doesn't matter. You have a huge audience, and because of the fact that you have a huge audience, you have a responsibility to not turn. No, it hasn't. It hasn't been broken. I actually care about the country and want to bring people together. You do the opposite. You represent the worst of us, Destiny. You're embarrassing.
You should tell Donald Trump.
All right, let me ask Destiny a question.
Watch how easy this is.
Hang on, don't all shout at once, please.
If Donald Trump would have come out and said, hey, we should all be less violent,
Destiny,
I have no problem saying
I have one question for you,
Why
Destiny.
can't conservatives do that? Why can't conservatives do that?
Destiny, I have a question for you. Why do you think in your campaign for everyone to dial down the temperature, why do you think that mocking the grieving widow of Charlie Kirk when she posts an image of her at the coffin side,
that's crazy, man.
Why do you think that constitutes turning down the temperature?
You can't turn down the temperature on your own. The president of the United States is not
inflame the temperature.
able
You're
to
mocking his widow. You're mocking his widow.
We've had multiple.
These people are practicing double truth. That's what's going on. They're talking from both sides of their mouth. They're changing. They're changing words and meanings. He's literally inflaming. He's saying it's okay at this point to just delete the other side because that way conservatives. I'm just paraphrasing, of course, and that's the only way conservatives will learn.
Political assassinations over the past year. What do you mean it's turning up the temperature?
Why did you mock his widow?
Why did you mock his widow? Because she's being used as a political weapon right now for conservatives to continue their fight. What do you mean, wow? She's literally doing
her husband just got murdered
on email. Yeah, and she's using it to drive up recruitment for
and you can't even condemn the murder. You won't condemn it.
Can't even tell his side
you're
to
so
turn the
deranged
down.
about Trump that you cannot
unhinged.
condemn the murder because you're
joke.
waiting for Donald Trump to say something.
Off of it.
All right, let me bring in Jack. Let me bring in Jack Posobiec. I gotta say,
there's still no answer to that question, Piers. You can't say
which question?
Why can't Donald Trump simply go on TV and say we all need to turn it down, like Biden could, like Obama could, like the Clintons could, like Kamala could? Why not?
Why can't you condemn the murder of Charlie Kirk?
It's unbelievable. I'm not the president of the United States.
Why can't you condemn the murder of Charlie Kirk?
Unbelievable to me.
Why can't you condemn the murder of Charlie Kirk?
Because it wasn't my side that caused it. It should be the one that is driving up the rhetoric.
It actually was your side that caused it. It was your side.
He doesn't care. He's not going to take accountability.
He was a radicalized leftist ideology.
He wasn't radicalized by
yeah, that's what he's saying. He's doing his usual. I'm not saying just saying. Yeah, and I think it's just one of his strategies to not take accountability. Yeah, he's over talk. Yeah, you know what? There's something wrong with the conservative party or the conservative wing of the United States. Is that when we see somebody like him that just sit down and talk with us, he does this, and somehow we give him respect. This guy deserves zero respect. This guy is a control opposition, and this right here is the problem with the left. This dude right here is not here to talk. He's not here to talk. He's just here to just inflame, actually, I would say, his side of the equation. So at this point, there might be a situation that something like this will happen again.
Of it all, you have no proof of that whatsoever.
That's what the investigators are saying.
Was a conservative, just like the people that firebombed Shapiro's house was a conservative, just like all the J6ers were conservative, just like the Proud Boys were conservative. Every single one of these people. Oh, it's Jack Posobiec, what, the author of Unhuman, another person that Charlie's supporting. Good one, dude.
Well, I'll give you one last chance, Destiny, to condemn the murder of Charlie Kirk.
Yes, you are acting like an unhuman.
Why can't I hear Donald Trump condemn violence in this country?
All right, you won't condemn it. Okay, we've all heard.
That's insane.
We've all heard you repeatedly refuse to condemn it.
And we've heard Donald Trump refuse to condemn it too. But for some reason, the leftists on YouTube are a bigger deal. Unbelievable.
Yeah. What's incredible is you don't have the basic humanity to condemn it. You'd rather taunt his widow. I find that sickening. Jack Posobiec.
I find it sickening that when people are getting killed in the country, the president of the United States on Fox and Friends, when they're begging him, what do you say to your followers that want revenge? He says, I don't know, all the elections are rigged. It's the radical Democrats. That's insane to me. And then the fixation is, well, who on Twitter and YouTube isn't condemning the violence?
All right, Jack Posobiec.
You have a great example here of the type of cancer I'm talking about, where when you present direct information, they refuse, they obfuscate, they refute, they say it's not true, they lie. You could see from the bullet casings, you could see from postings, you could see from everything out there that it's very clear what happened here. This is the same people who supported President Trump almost getting assassinated twice last year.
Correct.
Cory Carpentore being assassinated
By
last year
conservatives.
in a situation. Again, see, just lies. That's all they do. They talk over. They don't even let you give a chance to speak. And something needs to be done, Piers. Something absolutely needs to be done. This ideology should be shamed, humiliated, driven from the public discourse. I mean, you've got people who have completely dissociated with humanity because all they care about are clicks and YouTube streams and likes. Go to the casket. Go to the gravesite. Go talk to the widow. You know, I don't even know how to discuss this with someone who's completely lost all touch with reality.
Yeah, I mean, Anna.
What's Jack's answer to why can't the president say we should all be less violent?
Right. Because you can't even condemn the cold-blooded execution of Charlie
Donald Trump
Kirk.
turns on Destiny
I don't think you're in the
YouTube,
position
and he
to
says, "I
demand
wonder what
anything from
Destiny's saying
anybody
on YouTube." That's how I'm going to take my.
You're
my
not in any
pointers, but
position
really?
to condemn anybody for anything. You won't
Absolutely
condemn a
am, because he's the
cold-blooded
president
murder.
of the United States. He's the president of the United States. No one here can answer that question.
Basic
Why Donald
humanity
Trump-
says
why
the murder
Donald Trump,
was
the president,
horrific.
Can't say
Why can't
all
you
of us
say
need
it?
to be less violent.
Why can't you
Democrats
say
have been
it,
saying
Destiny?
for over a decade.
To say
Democrats have
the
been saying it for
murder
over a
was
decade.
horrific and
Why
unacceptable.
can't Donald Trump say it?
You can't do
why
it,
does
can
no one
you?
hear any words for Donald Trump?
All right, Anna
This dude
Kasperin.
is crazy, man.
Nothing exactly.
Anna Kasperin, to me, this is what I'm talking about, that I think there is an element of the left.
Well, a lot of people say that he used kind of something. I don't know how truthful that is, but he's here to murky the waters. He's not here for the truth.
The hard woke
My opinion.
left that have completely lost their minds. If you are not able to just outright simply condemn the murder of Charlie Kirk, and if you cannot stop yourself from mocking his grieving widow, you are sick, as I've just
100%.
seen from Destiny. It's a
The sick thing is
mindset.
weaponizing a widow's grief to try to do recruitment for your political party. That's probably one of the
These
most
people are
disgusting things
full
I've
of it.
ever
I'm
seen.
telling
She's
you.
showing up
I'm
in
telling
emails
you.
for recruitment
What
drives
would
for
you
TP
expect,
USA.
though, Destiny?
24
What did you
I
think
expect
the
for somebody whose
assassination
husband
of a
was just
political
killed? I
figure
would
would
say you'd
do?
probably
What did
take-
you think
you pro-
the outcome was going to be? What did you think the
What do you-
outcome was? And
hold
by
on,
the
I'm
way,
sorry, are you asking
really,
me for the pragmatic
your
political outcome,
behavior?
or are you asking
Hold
me
on,
for-
Let me. Hey,
You're
how
asking me a
about
question,
take it
so I
easy
didn't know
on the
it was rhetorical.
Adderall? Take it easy on the Adderall, and let me answer the question that Pierce
sorry,
asked me.
you must have been really
Okay,
bullied today, I
my
guess.
behavior,
Let Anna speak, please.
My behavior is not reliant on how anyone else behaves. Every morning I wake up and I make decisions about how I choose to react or respond to things. I don't wake up in the morning, check what Donald Trump has to say, and then base my own personal behavior on his behavior. I agree with you in that it would be very helpful to have the leader of this country want to turn the temperature down. And he hasn't done that. I agree with you on that. But that doesn't change the way I choose to respond to what's going on.
Ain't
The
gonna
idea
happen,
of
bro.
mocking
That
a
ain't gonna
woman
happen.
who is now a widow with 2 young children who witnessed her husband get shot in the neck and bleed out to death.
He has to appease. He has to appease. The thing is that at this point, he has to appease to his own base. Otherwise, if he says, I condemn the violence, probably 75% of his audience would just go. And probably they will go against him. He knows his audience. He knows them.
What is wrong with you? I just don't understand it. That's it. I don't understand it. I don't understand you, Destiny. You have so much hatred in your heart, and at the same time, you
it's such a
judge
simple thing.
others
If you're
as
going to
hateful.
weaponize somebody's grief against the other party, well, then of course people have a right to fight back against it. I think that she has every right to grieve in
go.
whatever way she wants. But when
Let's
that
do it, bro.
grief is going to be weaponized to do recruitment, political recruitment, and further radicalization of the other side, then of course you not only have the ability to mock it, I think you have the obligation to mock it. It's insane.
Let me understand. Let me understand your argument. So since others are using her grief to politically recruit, you think that it's okay to mock her specifically?
Since others
How
are
does that
using
make
her
any
grief,
sense?
she's the one who gave a 17-minute speech on TV where she talked about good versus evil. She's the one showing up in
Destiny,
TP
let me
USA
explain,
ads to
let
1
me
or 2
explain
days
something
after.
to you. If someone assassinated my husband, I would not be able to have the level of composure she had during that speech. I would be out for blood. I understand why she's angry and why she said the things that she said. Okay, you need to understand what being a human is, what it's like to actually lose
Being a
someone
human,
that
you're
you
right.
love, that you chose to spend your life with, that you chose to raise children with, a person who was violently and viciously assassinated like that. This is
Let him hear. I think he just let him. I think what he's doing right now is just letting just Destiny be stupid right now. Let him be stupid, and then he can snatch him.
why I've
He's
moved
listening.
away
And when
from
something yeah, I know, yes,
identifying
because
as
you got bullied online. It's so funny. It's so funny that you just said that you don't think about how other people act to define your behavior. Your entire political ideology now is somehow defined by the people that were mean to you on Twitter.
No,
if somebody
it's
cares
not.
about somebody who's
No,
grieving,
I understood
then you tell that
what
person,
the flaws
you
on
tell
the
that
left
person,
happen to
hey,
be. The
maybe you
weakness
should
in their
step back for a
arguments.
couple of
No,
weeks.
no, it's
Maybe you
not
should
about
take
the
some
way
time
I
to
get
grieve.
treated.
You don't
I
say,
get treated
hey, let's
like
throw a
crap from
camera in
both
front
sides
of
of
you
the
and have
political
you do
aisle.
mass recruitment for our political party.
That's
While
crazy.
everyone over here is calling for civil war. It's unhinged. When you've got people like Matt Walsh of the Daily Wire, and the
we're
president
talking
of the
to a
United States
guy
calling
who
for
said
civil
he'd be
war.
okay with his own parents getting killed if they went to that Trump rally where that assassination attempt
and we're talking
happened.
to a
There's
woman
no
who went
reasoning
on and
with
did
you,
the whole
Destiny.
conservative media
There's
outlet with
there's
Tucker
no
Carlson
reasoning
and
with
Glenn
you.
Beck and had
Okay.
nothing bad to say whatsoever. I know where your bread is buttered. I know where
And
you're
it was
making your money
great.
from.
I had
Okay, that's
awesome
great.
conversations.
And you
I
do
don't
with the
regret it
yeah,
at
I know,
all.
that's great.
I also had a
And keep up with the
conversation
personal
with Jack
attacks 'cause you're
Posobiec
so
on her
brain
take. It was
broken.
awesome.
Yeah, I know.
That's
Jack,
what
the guy over there that gets
democracy is
paid
about.
by
Having an
Russia that lies
exchange of
about everything that
ideas.
comes out of his
Yeah.
mouth. Yeah,
All
great.
right, let me
That's a
bring
good
in.
one.
Let me
Very
bring
I don't
in.
agree
This
with him on
lady, I'm
everything, but
telling
at least
you.
we can
To
have
this day.
dialogue.
I'm telling you right now, bro. Like he's just a controller position, man. So a lot of people have said that he's like a Fed or something like that. Listen, I don't know, man. For it seems like he's a control opposition for real, guys. He looks like a control opposition. No way you can give these arguments. They have no substance. They have no standing.
Anna, you're completely right, by the way. Anna is completely
Charlie,
right.
didn't it?
And the irony of Charlie Kirk is that he led the way in going in to debate with people who hated him, and he would try and have respectful dialogue.
Charlie Kirk beat up on college students.
Unlike
That's all
you,
he did.
Destiny.
Okay,
Let me bring
bro.
Andrew Wilson in.
So do you.
Let me bring in Andrew Wilson.
So do you. You beat up on college students. You go on a college tour. You're
Charlie
going on a
Kirk is
college
trying to
tour
hold
right
higher
now
level
to
debates
beat
and you
up
guys
on
kill
college students. What are you talking about, Destiny? That's what you're doing right this second, is going on a college tour to go beat up on college students. By the way, can I just ask you a question?
I don't
yes
exclusively beat up on college.
Can you
What are you
actually
talking about?
answer?
I debated half
Can you
the
actually
given
answer?
why. What do you
Hang
mean
on,
I
calm
beat up-
down.
you mean I beat
I just
up on
got one
college
question.
students?
Yeah.
I got one question for you.
His mission is just to make sure he can go through this segment, right? This show without him condemning the violence. So that means he might just overtalk. He might just, not even participate in the conversation. His job right now is just to go through this without condemning it.
And I want you to actually answer it. Are you glad Charlie Kirk is dead?
No, I don't think anybody in this country should be dying to political violence. It's insane. The past 5 years in this country has been crazy. But the reality is, until conservatives,
so then why did you say to your co-host that Trump deserved a bullet? Why did you tell him that?
Until conservatives have to say, hey, we all need to be less
dude,
violent,
bro,
there's
I'm
no
telling
purpose in Democrats doing it. Because every time Democrats disavow, you further entrench your guys' delusional beliefs that all the violence is coming on the left. Donald Trump can go on TV. He can say, Proud Boys, stand back and stand by. They can go on Parler and say, we heard you. They can go to the Capitol and break in and try to insurrect. They can get convicted in front of a jury. And then Donald Trump can pardon them. And we can come out and go, hey, guys, why aren't Democrats disavowing violence? And pretend that the problem is coming from the left. Democrats do a disservice to this country by disavowing violence constantly when the president of the United States
Let me respond quickly.
That's the job, you see?
Destiny, so the thing is, why did you say to your co-host that the bullet was for Trump? Why did you say to your co-host that the best place for the bullet was Trump? Why did you say that?
Why did Donald Trump call
It's a whataboutism. Whataboutism. I'm asking you a question. I can't be a whataboutism if it's my question, Destiny.
Why won't Donald Trump
answer the question?
All right, why don't we do this? Why don't we do this?
Pierce, man, I'm telling you, when it comes down to Piers Morgan and his way of doing interviews, man, he suck. Let him have it. Let him have it. Like, just don't stop. Destiny right now is just killing himself. Let him have it. Let him have it. Like this.
Why don't we do this before I cut mics?
Because you don't care.
Destiny,
you don't care that Kirk's dead.
Destiny, allow Andrew to repeat his question and let him ask the question. Then you answer it, okay, Andrew?
No, I want to hear the other side first.
Let him ask the question.
Yeah.
Let him ask the question, Destiny, and then you answer it. Andrew.
Destiny told his co-host when asked point blank if he wanted the bullet to kill Trump, that the worst thing that could have happened was the bullet missing. He said this to Pisco. I watched it, okay? This guy's an obfuscation machine. And you know what else, Destiny? Why should we believe you? I think you are glad Kirk is dead. And all of your tweets seem to prove that. And you would have been happy if Trump was assassinated. You've made that very clear. So why not just be truthful for once in your fucking life and say the truth, that you don't care that Kirk is dead, and you're actually probably glad he is. Isn't that really what's true?
I don't want anybody in this country to die to political violence. I don't think in the United States of America that should be happening. I don't know why it's so hard for the president to say the same. I think it'd be the easiest thing in the world as a president. Biden did it for 4 years. That's why everything was way cooler when he was here.
Yeah, Biden did it for 4 years. Come on, man. I mean, since Trump has been in power, these people even attack conservatives even during the rallies. I mean, what do we do here, chat? I'm just confused, man. What do we do here? What do we do here?
The temperature.
These people are crazy, man.
The Clintons have no problem saying it. Barack Obama has no problem saying it. Kamala Harris has come out and said it. Every Democratic lawmaker and leader has basically come out and said it. But for some reason on the Republican side, it's just civil war, civil war, civil war. And the Republican president of the United States, who has presided over more violence politically in this country, more large protests than any president in all of U.S. history, for some reason can't bring himself to say, all of us need to calm down. And
so did Trump deserve the bullet?
Did
Trump deserve the bullet?
This is all you care about are the political hit jobs.
Just answer the question, bro. Did Trump deserve the bullet?
Did Donald Trump
deserve the bullet
on his side ever? Did Donald Trump
answer the question? Did Trump deserve the bullet?
You can't answer the question. We're here to play.
No, bro.
To
it's my turn to ask the question. It's your turn to answer. Did Trump deserve the bullet?
Did Trump disavow violence in this country ever?
Did he deserve the bullet? Yes, he's disavowed violence.
But
again, I just did. Now your turn. Now your turn. It's your turn.
Did Donald Trump?
Did Trump deserve the bullet?
I never said that. No, I never said that. No.
Okay, except you did to your co-host.
No, I didn't. Wait, when did Donald Trump disavow? Wait. When did Donald Trump disavow violence in this country?
Your co-host, you lying sack of shit. If he wanted to kill Trump, the worst thing that could have happened was the bullet missing. That's what you said, bro.
Yeah. And this is when you're putting YouTubers and tweeters on the same level as the president of the United States.
Yeah, we have to pray for that. That's all we can do.
Brain broken when it comes to violence in this country.
That's all you can do, man.
But Destiny,
Destiny, going to turn around and be like, I can't believe it. What's going on? What's happening here?
Okay, Destiny, if you care so much about political violence in America, why don't you lead the way yourself without mentioning anybody else? Why don't you, Destiny, right now just outright condemn the murder of Charlie Kirk?
Because we've been doing that for a decade. One side can't turn down the temperature.
You can't do it.
Side can't turn down the temperature. If Donald Trump can't, then the left shouldn't until he does.
Got it.
Republicans
you don't want to do it.
need accountability for their actions. They need some responsibility for the insanity.
He had it coming,
even though you take none yourself. Let me bring in Jack Posobiec.
We absolutely,
Democrats, all right, that's enough, Destiny. I'll bring in Jack Posobiec.
Yeah,
Jack.
Okay. Nice. Both sides it.
Jack.
Yeah.
What is your response to this?
I mean, Piers, this is exactly what I'm talking about. You know, this type of ideology where you've got someone who's willing to mock Erica, who's been standing strong for her family, for her children, she will never be able to grow old with Charlie. She will never be able to be with them again, have more children, to have grandchildren, to have those memories, to raise them. It's all gone. Every single moment of that future.
This guy, I know Jack, but the same thing. I know what he's saying, but Jack, this guy doesn't care about that. Like, and this is what Andrew Tate was saying. Like, we try to reason with people that are not sharing the same value, and that's a problem. That's just we're just in Bolshevik times. We are basically in the Civil War, Spain Civil War, right? The fascists against the Bolsheviks. The Bolsheviks didn't believe in any Christian, system. They just eliminate them, by the way. Yeah, like at this point, we have to recognize that these people don't even care about the fact that he had a wife and kids, man.
That they had.
Because they themselves don't have them. They themselves don't believe in that system. They don't believe in the patriarchy. They believe in some kind of communist matriarchy, all this stuff. We have to wake up to this.
Because someone fired a bullet at Charlie Kirk that said, "Hey, fascist, catch," and now you have people celebrating it. And when you ask people
That's
about
not even
it,
the
they
bullet
say,
that was fired. How are you lying about this?
Shut up! Destiny.
Holy
Shut
shit!
up.
You're so
Shut
shameless,
up.
dude. Oh my god! You're not even sight the right bullet. You're such a disgusting
Piers.
piece of shit. Holy fuck!
What a
Piers.
pedantic
Are we-
point. What a
are
It's
we
not
even gonna do
pedantic.
this?
The guy's a fucking
It's
professional
total
liar.
pedantry.
Epic
It's
and
total
based.
pedantry. Total
This guy
pedantry.
probably.
I would
I would like to let
Jesus.
Jack finish his point, please.
Yeah,
and
his
and
rant
they'll
here,
claim
yeah.
there's no leftist connection. They'll claim there's no
Nothing,
and
nothing.
then go so far as to lie and say there's some kind of Christian conservative connection when
Correct.
you could
That's a great point. Destiny makes money off extremist politics. I think so. You might be right.
see the writing on the
You
bullet
might be
casing.
right. That's a good point.
And so, you know, these are very common symbols associated, whatever. The point is, right, it should be very, very clear. Are we connected with our humanity or are we not? And some people are willing to do that. Anna's been willing to do that. We've done shows together. They've been fine. They've been good. We've jousted. We've done the back and forth. Destiny and I in the past have had shows together where before he kind of took this turn, and you think there are people who can just be willing to stand up for humanity.
You know, Jack, it reminds me a bit of the journey I've gone on, very different circumstances, but the Israel-Hamas war. The reason I asked everybody on the pro-Palestinian side for months after the war started, do you condemn what Hamas did, is I think it was very enlightening as to the humanity of the person by how they responded. If their immediate response was, of course I do, the mass murder of civilians on October the 7th was a horrendous atrocity, then we can move on to an intellectually honest debate. If they refuse to condemn what Hamas did, it's a completely different debate. And similarly, right now, I feel if you can't condemn a lot of what the IDF are doing, frankly, it's my opinion, in Gaza, then the same thing. If you're unequivocally like, it's all fine with 20,000 plus kids being killed, then I've got a problem with that too.
Right.
But I do think you've got to try and maintain in all of these debates a modicum of humanity about people who are actually being killed. And what is terrifying about the mindset of a lot of people on the woke left I've seen since Charlie Kirk's death is the brazen glee that they're taking to his murder. And then when I see even Destiny, who's a very well-followed person on the internet, well-known, when Destiny, frankly, if you can't bring yourself just to say the murder was horrific and should never have happened, it's a very simple sentence. It's just basic humanity. It really makes me despair for where everything is going, because it's indicative of the mindset of, I can't give an inch to my political opponents, therefore I lose my humanity. How can that be right?
Because you can't give an inch to political opponents that won't
There we go. There we go. It's all about politics, folks. There we go. It's all about politics. It's not even about the morality. You know what? Who else thinks about this or thinks close to this? Bill Maher. I think in one of his episodes, if I'm not mistaken, he mentioned that it's all about winning. It's all about winning. Kamala Harris is not a good candidate. It's not about winning. It's about winning. She's this. She's very bad. It's all about winning. It's all about winning. It's all about political expedience.
Or acknowledge anything they've done is wrong. It's all it's done is gotten us here. This is where we're at because of that exact mindset. Will any of the conservatives here acknowledge the conservative that murdered Melissa Hortman and her husband and shot the other senator in Minnesota?
The crazy lawmaker that was hired by Tim Walz? Okay.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
That it was a conservative shooter? That it was a conservative shooter?
It's not a
I don't know
conservative.
the details on that particular case. If I
course,
did,
yeah,
and
of
it
course
turned out
they
that it
don't,
was the case, of course, I would say that such violence should be disavowed. Thing is, you can't hold your entire moral standard based on what you think Trump is doing or not doing. What does that have to do with you, Destiny? It has nothing to do with you. You could easily just say, you could lead by example and say, let's all tone down the violence.
You can't lead by example.
That's what
I'm
you
not
want,
the president
right?
of the United States. That's what Democrats have been doing.
Wait,
for
you
the
can't
last
lead by
decade.
example because you're not the president?
Yo, this is crazy. He really said that the person that deleted the two lawmakers in Minnesota, did he really say that he was a Republican guy? I can't believe this. I can't believe this. The guy was hired by Tim Walz. He was a lefty lunatic. Yo, this is crazy, man. Oh my goodness.
That's the
When one
stupidest thing I've
side,
heard
if
today,
one
Destiny.
side wants to fight and the other side doesn't, then you're going to fight. One side can't decide not
What
to
are you
fight
talking?
if the other
That
side
makes no
decided to.
sense. What does that have
What
to
do you
do
mean
with
it
you?
makes no
You
sense?
can-
If
you
some
can
guy comes up to
easily-
you to
you
fight,
can easily
and the
just
other
say it
side
now,
says, I
Destiny.
don't want to, you don't really have the choice there.
Lead by
That's how fighting
example, then.
works.
Lead by
You
example.
can't lead by
and show
example.
us.
That's called dying.
You can.
Actually,
Right
I
now.
thought-
You
I
do
thought-
it right
I
now.
actually
Second
thought-
Amendment rights.
Do it right
I
now.
actually
That's
thought.
party of
Let me
self-defense.
jump in.
'Cause you're actually happy
Let me
about
jump
it,
in
Destiny.
here.
Just be honest, you're happy
I actually
about it.
felt that Anna hit the nail on the head here, which is she did not need to wait for Donald Trump to comment on this to make her own mind up about what had happened. That is intellectual honesty, right? Yes, it may have been somebody that she totally disagreed with on many issues.
Head. Why,
The simple, humane thing to do with any event like this is to ask yourself, how do I personally feel about it? Not what does Donald Trump think about it, or what does Joe Biden think about it, or what does Timbuktu think about it? It's what do I personally feel about this? It didn't take me very long, Destiny, to understand that I felt repulsed by the execution of somebody in cold blood with his wife and 2 young children there watching. It's a human reaction. I don't need to know what Donald Trump thinks about it.
You're there.
At all. I don't understand why you need to wait for him before your own
I don't
humanity
need to
kicks
wait
in.
for anybody. No, you're not asking how we feel about it. You're asking what the public statements should be. And the public statements should be
No,
the
I'm
President
not.
of the United States.
I'm not.
Yes, you are.
No,
You're
I'm
asking
not.
me for a public statement
I'm
right
asking,
now.
where
Because
is
you're
your
watching a
humanity? You
colleague
can't
getting
just
murdered.
say the murder
Where is your
was
humanity,
wrong.
peers? You guys are playing into this exactly. I think you probably know it. I think Cornel was right about this. You know where your bread is buttered as well. You guys play into this. It's insane to me that the President of the United States can't say, hey, all of us need to be less violent.
I agree.
We all need to calm the fuck down. That the President of the United States can't say this, but you will endlessly scour Twitter and YouTube for leftists to bring on and say, don't you guys disavow the violence? It's absolutely absurd to me.
You know, Cornel West should have stayed in his seat. We were debating free speech, actually, and whether
You're not debating free speech. It's not
let me
even an equivalent
finish.
conversation,
Let me finish,
Piers.
and whether
It's
the
insane.
overuse of words like Hitler, Nazis, and fascists was actually empowering deranged young minds to think they were battling actual new Hitler, Nazis, and fascists. And actually, when Andrew pointed out to Cornel that he had used the phrase neo-fascist about Trump, that's when Cornel decided he couldn't take part in the debate anymore, when he was reminded of something he had said. He didn't try and deny it. He just said, I don't want to have this debate, and left.
Piers, how long have you been in the United States,
Oh my
following
God,
our
bro.
politics?
This dude, man.
Over 20 years, I've lived and worked in America.
This dude.
Okay, if you've lived and worked in America, I grew up as a conservative listening to Rush Limbaugh and to Glenn Beck and to Billy Cunningham and to Sean Hannity. You're going to sit here and pretend like Democrats are the ones that started the name calling? I heard them call Obama and the Clinton
I didn't
socialists
say
and
that.
communists.
When did I say
I
that?
heard them call... I'm just saying, why are we pretending that some people...
I'm saying,
call
why
them
did
Obama?
Cornel
Christian
West
household?
Why
And you're
would
a
Cornel
leftist?
West
I thought
walk
that
out
couldn't
on a
happen 5
debate when we're
minutes ago.
literally talking about the importance of speech? Makes no sense to me.
If speech is important, then the president should exercise it more cautiously.
So should
And
you.
Republicans
So should you.
have been. You can't stop.
You've
a
got
fight
millions
on
of
one
followers,
end.
and you think
You
it's fine
can't
to
stop
show them
a fight
you're
on
mocking
one
a
end.
widow.
You cannot choose for your opponent not to fight you.
Fine.
If
You
Republicans
mocked
won't
a
turn
grieving
down
widow.
the rhetoric, then fine. Then who cares? Donald Trump
Who
shouldn't have
cares?
used the rhetoric that led her to being
cares?
killed. 2 days
Oh
before
my
she
God.
died,
Who cares
Donald
that
Trump
you
tweeting
mocked
out
a grieving
pictures.
widow?
This is all-
Yeah, he's like full commie, man. He went full commie.
It's just very
And you know what's crazy? I think some of these, I believe some of these shootings are kind of psyopy. Oh yeah, man. A lot of this stuff is going on. There's a lot of psyops. Could be a lot of psyops. Think about it. Think about it. It's like, just don't get why this is happening. I just don't get why this is happening. Yeah, Destiny achieved what he wanted on this show. He wanted to simply just go through the entire show without disavowing the attack. That's it. That was
you
it.
guys are excited about it.
Gold,
You guys
and
love
that's
it.
it.
How is it-
You love
how
the
is it that you
violence.
said this
You
guy
love
can't
the
possibly be a
conflict. It's
leftist?
exciting to you. It's insane to me.
Yeah.
No.
How
this
is
isn't
it that you
exciting.
say this guy can't be a
This isn't
leftist
good.
because he grew up in a white Christian household when you grew up in a white Christian household by your own admission just
There
now
we
and you're
go.
fucking leftist, Destiny?
Damn! Let's go, Andrew. Let's go, Andrew. He's a real one. See, this is why we need Andrew.
To me.
Yeah.
No.
How
this
is
isn't
it that you
exciting.
say this guy can't be a
This isn't
leftist
good.
because he grew up in a white Christian household when you grew up in a white Christian household by your own admission just now and you're a fucking leftist, Destiny?
I'm
Can you explain that
36
to me?
years old. This guy was 22, and he lived at home
What does that have to do
basically
with
his entire
anything?
life.
What does that have to do with
Because I
anything?
had 20 years to separate myself from my parents' ideology. I didn't live with them still. Jesus.
So 6 months, 1 year, 20 years? Why does it matter how long it took to separate? You just got to say it was impossible, and you yourself are a leftist who grew up in a Christian conservative household.
Let's
dude.
go, Andrew.
You're the
You're
worst
asking me-
hypocrite
you're
I've
asking
ever
me-
seen.
Yo,
Hold on.
that
I'm
is
sorry.
so
You think,
hypocrite.
you think that a 22-year-old has as much time to separate himself from the ideology that he grew
Did
up
I
with
say
as
that?
a 36-year-old?
Didn't say
Yeah,
it.
you just made
It's
the
a
comparison,
pedantic,
dipshit.
stupid
Of course
point.
you did. It's not
Let me
pedantic.
ask,
I made the comparison that
Absolutely
person can be
opposite.
radicalized.
What a
Look at
stupid
you.
point.
Let me
You're the
jump
most
in.
Oh my God.
radicalized
Let me
fucking
jump in. Let me jump in. Let me ask Jack. Jack, you know the Kirk family well. You've been around the Kirk family, I think, since this is appalling.
The
murder has
majority
happened.
of
When you
us
hear
went through that
Destiny saying-
same. Hey, the majority of us went through that same path. Our parents probably were conservatives, and maybe we went to college and we became lefty lunatics. Some of us, of course, we woke up to the craziness early. Yeah, that's what it was. We just went through this, institution. We got brainwashed, but then later on, when we detached ourselves from that institution, we became more conservative. So I don't know what this dude's saying, man.
Who cares about the fact that he openly, publicly
and he hates it. Look. Destiny hates Andrew because Andrew is the real deal.
mocked Erica Kirk, a grieving widow, within literally a day or two of her husband being murdered. How does that make you feel as a friend of the
Let's
family?
go with a cigarette too.
It's very angry, Piers, And here's the thing is she's seeing all of it. She's going to see all of it. Her kids are going to watch this video one day. It's just, that's sort of the nature of reality now.
Yeah, people
they will
change.
see all of this and they will see the reaction. And I just hope that those of us who knew Charlie, worked with Charlie, who knew Charlie beyond the, TikToks and short videos can also be there for those kids as they grow up to let them know who their dad was.
And
Kids are going to grow up and watch old episodes.
Yo, the 90s, bro. The Democrats in the 90s were more conservative than conservatives today. And I'm not gonna lie. The crime bill that the Joe Biden was pushing in the 90s, I'm up for it, man. That was literally just in a way to attack the crime in the cities. The Democrats were very, very conservative back then. Post Obama, they became like Marxist lunatics commies.
Of Piers Morgan Uncensored. How performative is this? Is everybody here? Did we all get like a script before the show? What?
You're
watch a lot
embarrassing.
of
Oh, man, this
It's
dude
so
full of it.
embarrassing. You
God.
make the left look so
Jesus.
bad, and you don't even realize it. You are
My God.
seriously so embarrassing.
Okay, yeah.
God.
You can talk to your best friend.
You really
Glenn
are.
Beck about
I mean,
it
like,
later,
you-
and have
do you
another
feel-
30-minute conversation about it, Anna.
Maybe I
Talk more about
will.
how
Maybe
the
I
mean
will talk to
wokies
Glenn
on-
Beck about
on
it.
Twitter
Oh, is
are
that
bullying you about
ooh?
it.
Is that naughty? Is it
How many
naughty to have
conversations have you
conversations
had with
people
Nick?
across the aisle?
You had more conversation with Nick than anyone.
So mean. Oh no, not the meanies on Twitter.
This dude is full
I
of
know.
How
it.
many
Finish
more
your point.
lawsuits are you
Chicken
going
and
to face
waffles
from
with
women
Nick
that you
Fuentes?
allegedly secretly
Like, what do you
recorded
mean?
during intimate moments? Destiny, I can't believe anyone
are you
takes you
se- are you
seriously.
really?
You're
You wanna
disgusting.
pull out Twitter?
You're
You wanna pull out
embarrassing,
Twitter rumors
and
now?
you
Yeah,
should be
keep going,
shunned
Anna.
from
Yep.
public life with
Keep
your
playing it.
disgusting
My God,
treatment
I can't
of all
believe you
sorts
got
of
bullied
people,
so hard
including
on
young
Twitter. This is what you
left-wing
become.
girls, women
You're turning
that you
more
victimized
blonde right
allegedly.
now in the window. You're
yeah,
so
that's who
you're
you
like
are.
2 shades away from being
You're
a Fox News host,
embarrassing.
Anna.
You
Keep
embarrass the
going.
left.
You gotta
You're the
go
type
get
of
go get
person
some
who
lip
pushes
filler there.
people
You
away
gotta
from
do-
the
you're
left.
so close,
Make
Anna.
sure you understand that. You're embarrassing.
Exactly, yeah,
There's no morality with you. There's no grounding
Absolutely
values.
not.
There's
Of
no
course
principles.
not, yeah.
All you want is attention, 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 attention. That's all you
Absolutely.
want.
Yeah, of
That's
course.
all
While
you
you
want.
and Jen talk about
Endless
how
attention.
9/11 was
Say
caused by the
disgusting,
Jews, and you have
provocative
Yeah, correct.
garbage.
another
You
friendly
want
conversation with
attention.
another
Yeah.
mainstream conservative commentator about how you're such a
Yeah,
left.
it was very common to have some conversations back then regarding these type of topics, but I don't know what happened. I think post 2000s, I don't know what happened with the country. The country became like really communism, just literally just infiltrate every institution. It's crazy.
But those people on Twitter are so mean.
Having a debate or dialogue doesn't automatically mean that you agree with everything they have to
Good.
say. It
Good.
means you're coming
No, it's
together
when you sit down and you're
exchanging
agree with everything they have
ideas
to say.
and
Then you agree with
debating
everything
them.
they have to say.
No, I don't agree with everything they have to
You
say.
do.
What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah, you do.
I
Of
don't
course
agree
you
with
do. What
everything
do you
they have
mean?
to say. But I'm
When
an
you
adult.
sit down,
right,
and
yeah.
all
I
of
can
your
sit down and
criticisms
have a
are for
mature
the
debate
left,
or
and you have no
conversation.
disagreements about anything on the right, yeah, that's called
I do
agreement.
have
is usually what we
criticisms for the
call it.
left. I have tons of criticisms for the right. Tons of criticisms. I'm obviously
they don't seem to come out
pro-choice,
much
for
when you're
instance.
talking to your
I obviously have a huge problem with the unending, unmitigated support for.
Does Destiny has tobacco in his mouth? He's talking on this. He's talking on that. I don't know, man.
Israel, regardless of the genocide they're engaging in. I have all sorts of disagreements with the right. That doesn't mean I'm going to dehumanize them and cheer on the slaughter of my fellow Americans because we have disagreements on politics. You're embarrassing.
I wish anybody here had the same energy for the president of the United States, but that's good. I'm glad you guys are focused where it really counts on Twitter and
Dude,
YouTube.
you have
Where the
like
conservatives want you to be
TDS,
focused
like
on, you know?
you are like the prototype
TDS,
of TDS.
yeah, there it
It's
comes, yeah.
unbelievable.
The TDS,
You wake up every
yes.
morning and you decide your
Yes,
behavior is going
true.
to hinge on Trump.
Tell me
Well,
more about
who
the
are you as
dancing
an
Israelis
individual?
and Building
God, have
7
a little bit
and
of
how
humanity.
the Jews all knew about 9/11
You're a
and they all
sociopath.
want us to go to war
You're
in the
a
Middle East. Yeah, of course.
sociopath.
I'm
Let me
I
bring
never
in-
once said the
okay.
Jews
Let me
were
bring
behind
in Jack
9/11.
again.
Not
Let me-
once. Don't make
This
things
too,
up, you
bro.
disgusting prick.
Let me
That's
bring
okay,
in
don't
Jack
worry.
again. Let me bring in Jack again. Jack, Peter Navarro earlier was talking about
Yeah, he supposedly have friends. I don't know, man.
directly to Elon Musk about
Do you think so? Do you think so? Methamphetamine? Really? No way. No way. I don't believe. Yeah,
in
that's
his
out
view,
there. That's out there.
the urgent need for Elon Musk to detoxify X, given that he owns the platform, and that he blamed X for a lot of the toxicity
No way.
in public discourse. What do you feel about that?
Well, you know, I think there's obviously a tension between, standing and wanting free dialogue and freedom of speech, but also maintaining a line beyond calling for violence and calling for direct violence or direct criminal activity. So, you know, X in its original Twitter fashion, if you go all the way back to, 2012, 2010, when it was really getting going, they used to pretty much the main things that were banned or would get taken down or get accounts banned were posting of direct addresses of people, so doxing, or posting direct threats to violence. And so I think there needs to be that line.
Okay,
set
thank you. I
of
was literally looking for what you told me. If he's using that, that's crazy, man.
Is
I don't know. I don't know
acceptable
that's okay.
discourse. This is a back and forth, but the idea that a direct call for violence should be banned, I think that's something that I would support.
Andrew, what do you feel about the social media aspect of all this? Do you think that it is culpable to a degree in the surging toxicity of debate about these things?
Look, social media is a tool. And what social media has done right now is it's allowed us to get a glimpse into a leftist ideology, finally. Yeah. And we get to see the insane madness that was always there. And the fact of the matter is that, here on the panel right this second, you have a guy who celebrated a multitude of these types of things, including telling his co-host that basically Trump, the worst place that the assassin could have put the bullet was anywhere other than Trump. I mean, I got the clip of him doing it. And so the thing is like what we've noted now, these people are glad. They're glad. They're happy. They love it. I go on TikTok all the time and I debate with these people. It's very clear that leftists are glad that this happened and that they're going to do everything they can to promote more of it. And we're supposed to base our behavior on what the president does or doesn't say. What, like if I had Biden derangement syndrome, I couldn't still come out and condemn political violence? Of course I could. But the thing is
I'm just curious. Anybody have any words for the fact that Charlie Kirk said that Biden should have been executed?
Leftists collectively can't seem to do that, though. I don't know why they can't seem to do that.
No, that was fine when Charlie Kirk said that. Okay,
Anna,
gotcha.
Anna, I want to mention something to you, which I was going to talk to Cornel West
Charlie
about.
Kirk was a moderate. He was more moderate than a local electrician.
Yeah, nice pivot.
He was more moderate than a local electrician.
Let's see, dextroamphetamine. Start again. No. Aspartate, dextroamphetamine sulfate, and amphetamine sulfate tablet. It's not cancel culture, it's accountability culture, 100%.
He said he wanted to see Biden.
You have debated with the worst.
He said he wanted to see
you know.
Biden executed. Okay, give me a fucking break.
That's not what he said.
Don't care about any of this
That's
stuff.
not what he said. He
said
if you violate,
does he consume Adderall? For real? I never knew that.
Criminality in criminal
this is
performative
outrage.
Then that will be the case.
All right, I want to ask Anna.
There's not what's performative. What's performative?
Wait, so I say, oh well, I think that guy was a criminal. Therefore, the execution is okay. Somehow that Makes everything fine with no investigation, no criminal charges.
You say all the time
Give me a break.
that your political opponent should be in jail and highest extent of the law. You say it all the time. What are you talking about?
Sorry, no, that's Donald
saying
Trump.
the word
He's the one who's
performative doesn't mean
activating
anything.
The National Guard right now.
Oh, it's just
bullshit
performative.
investigations into every
that's just
political opponent.
performative.
All right, I want to bring Anna back in.
Talk about the
I want to bring Anna back in.
Performative.
Okay, I want to bring Anna back.
Andrew is literally the worst enemy for it. It's the worst nightmare for Destiny. He just he look at that, look at that. He just give up. Look at that body language. And Andrew is like, I got you. Andrew knows what he's doing. So, and I remember Destiny used to do this a lot in early 2014, 2016, even in the early 2000 before the 20th. And he always used to do this. And now you see a guy called Andrew. He's like a killer, man. 48%.
Back in, because the president-elect of the Oxford Union, probably the most premier debating society in the world.
Wow,
I've done
really?
it several times myself. George Aberonye, reportedly posted several. He didn't reportedly. He did post several comments in a WhatsApp group, appearing to celebrate the murder of Charlie Kirk. One said, "Charlie Kirk got shot. Let's fucking go."
Wow. Whoa.
Another one was, I think, LOL. This guy is going to be the president of the Oxford Union Debating Society, and yet he is celebrating the murder of somebody he literally debated himself in the Oxford Union in May. I found that terrifying. I mean, he shouldn't still be in the job, because how can you possibly be the head of a debating society when you think the way to debate with people is murder them if they don't agree with you? But again, the gleeful celebration. This is supposedly one of the brightest students in Britain. President.
Yo, I heard this debate, and this guy is just a con man. This guy, in my opinion, is like a con man.
Of the new Oxford
he can't
Union
be that
Debating
bright.
Society.
He can't be that bright if he's not considering what a political...
Nah. So the difference is Destiny hates Andrew. Andrew loves debating Destiny because he knows he's gonna win the arguments. Now, I don't think so. In theory, yes, you're correct. But I think Destiny's afraid of Andrew. You see what I'm saying? Usually, there's a similar energy between both of them. But Destiny hates Andrew.
Assassination
Let me
could
look it up.
potentially lead to. Because where does this end? And that's like one of my biggest issues with a portion of the left. Their inability to see past the current moment, right? You're celebrating it, but
so does he have ADHD? That's why he's taking it? Or he's just taking it Lipiton? Anxiety and mood swinging, damn.
What's the long-term goal here? Is the
I did look it up.
to just have to descend to an environment of endless political assassinations and violence? And if we're going to have the left go up against the right in terms of violence, in terms of bloodshed, in terms of shootings, I don't know. I would just venture to say that the right is probably going to do a better job in, taking people out than the left is. This is just a really disgusting, sick ideology, and we need to move away from it. And again, I want to emphasize your personal behavior, the way you choose to behave and respond to things on a day-to-day basis has an impact. Okay, be the change you want to see in the world. So when you have a huge audience, and that audience of young people...
Yeah, I think you're correct. I heard Andrew saying that he respects Destiny's debating skill. But again, those are debating skills. But the problem with Destiny is carrying a very dangerous ideology that is not based in any structural morality. So for him, it's going to be very hard to just even hold like a strong standard. When in the case of Andrew, it's easier. He comes in with a better confidence because everything comes in his worldview from epistemology. I think that's how we call it, meaning like a Christian point of view. So for him, it's easier. In the case of Destiny, it's just gonna keep moving around, keep changing. So you might have to go crazy at the end of the day. If I was Destiny, I would end up crazy.
Who look up to you, who feel inspired by you, hear you essentially minimize political violence or even make excuses for it or deflect by blaming Trump for everything. Well, you're essentially indoctrinating people to support and normalize political violence. We can't be doing that. I don't care how people behave on the right. That's not going to have an impact on how I personally choose to behave. I want to be better.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think you're right. I just read it. I think you're right.
Than that. I want to preach dialogue, okay? Debate, have these conversations. And you know, Charlie Kirk, the last debate he and I had, you know, Destiny would like you to believe that I agree with the right on everything. I don't agree with the right on everything. We debated about whether or not you have to have children in order to care about the future of this country.
You have to. You have to. So if you don't, what's the matter? What's the meaning of just maintaining a society? What's your duty to maintain a society?
So we have a debate, and it's fine. He has a right to his opinions. I have the right to mine. If you care about democracy,
so he looks kind of kooky. He looks like a very ADHD kind of thing.
The democratic process is reliant on having these types of conversations and reliant on not resorting to violence because you're unable to articulate your arguments effectively against the other side. That's what I see this assassination as. Again, it was cowardice. It was disgusting. It was cold-blooded murder, and no one should be celebrating it, and no one should be mocking the family members of Charlie Kirk.
Yeah. Very well said. I just want to thank all the panel for joining me. Jack, I want to say to you, I can tell by your demeanour today how profoundly impactful.
Shut up, Pierce. We don't want to hear it. We don't want to hear it. Truly, I don't want to hear what Pierce had to say. I just don't want to hear what he had to say. He's just, I don't know. He's some of these guys are just stuck in He's just stuck in 1992 for some reason. Every time that I listen to him, bring his speech. And I think people were debating. I think Andrew was debating also and this is changing the topic a little bit. The argument with people burning the flag, which I agree with on Andrew, since we're not a homogeneous country anymore. We're not Westerners mostly. We have some mix of people. Like we now there's people coming in and basically just changing the landscape and using even our own freedoms against us. I agree, Destiny is a secularist and thus a moral relativist. Andrew is an Orthodox Christian who has an institutional moral standard outside relying on his own moral preferences. And yeah, that's the difference. So that means that Andrew can come to these kind of debate easily. And you're always seen to be able to trap people, and I don't mean that. Oh wait, what? I think you said something. Yeah, I think when it comes down to this, is Destiny is just always changing because there's not a moral frame for him. And when it comes down to structural cultures, you need to have some kind of base. Religion will just give you that already, to give you some morals and cultural base for a society. You take that out, then you are just based on whatever. Andrew has a way of trapping debaters. Not that he's trapping them, but he traps them with their own logic. Exactly. And this is what happened, I think, during the 2010s until the 2020s. I would say 2022. The lefties were very good at debating tactics for not telling the truth. But those debate tactics, what it did was confuse a lot of people because people didn't know how to just approach some of these debate tactics. I'm even including Steven Crowder. Steven Crowder used to debate a lot of these folks, but he was not good at it. He was not good at it. He was not as effective, right? Even Charlie Kirk was not as effective because they were not using the power of logic in their favor. And I understand what Andrew Wilson do because I've been doing sales. Well, I'm not doing sales anymore. But before I started doing content creation, I used to be a life insurance agent, and we understood the structure of conversation and how you can keep the control of the conversation. And a lot of those techniques Andrew Wilson liked to use them. How do we maintain society when we don't have children? We don't. We need children. We need children. And as Kasparian can understand that. I haven't really listened to her position on this, but I can just assume it's just based on you don't need to have kids to just maintain a society kind of bullshit. But if you don't have kids, there's no way you can maintain society. None of this didn't matter at the end of the day. Society doesn't matter. Culture doesn't matter. Institutions don't matter if you're not protecting anybody. Destiny is a more relativist intentionally so that he can't get pinned down on moral questions. Yeah, he's he's using kind of that water philosophy, like kind of that Bruce Lee water philosophy. With your be like water, become the cup. Water's inside if water is inside the cup, become the cup. If the water's inside the bottle, becomes the bottle. He's like that, I guess. Exactly. Yes, he likes to speak fast to keep people off track on his logic. And that's exactly why he doesn't like to debate Andrew Wilson. Andrew Wilson understands that structure. That's why he doesn't allow them to just continue without answering the question. Specific questions, by the way. Very specific question. Yesterday, I was listening to him doing the extravaganza. And he managed to just expose one of these lefties, make just falsifying the statement regarding the shooter. And they spent like 10 minutes just waiting for her to just show the truth. And then at the end, even though she got exposed, she didn't want to just admit that she was wrong. These are the kind of people you're dealing with. I will say, learn a little bit of sales skill, learn the structures of questions, make sure you can hold the conversation well, make sure you're know when you're in offense or defense. And that way you can just understand these doofos, man. And this is where Andrew Wilson separate himself from Andrew Wilson and not Andrew Wilson. I'm sorry, Louder and Charlie Kirk. It's two different styles, but I think Andrew Wilson understands the structures of conversation much better. Andrew doesn't like monolith. That's why you always put self-qualifier. Yeah, secularists depend on their own feelings to form moral compass. The problem is secularists all have different views on morality, so every person's different moral views are valid. Which, yeah, it's a logical failure. Yes, completely. Unfortunately, Destiny does have a kid and an ex-wife, but ironically, his kids are conservative, which also makes Andrew point about people having different political views from their family. Yeah, good point. I mean, it's insane, man. Yeah. I like it. There's a couple of things that Andrew does that is very good. Like something that I never heard people doing, like agree or just not agree. He's granting arguments, and I think granting arguments is a good way to destroy their own worldview and destroy their argument. Because what happens is if you don't grant some argument, they keep just going in circle and circle and circle. But when you grant the argument, then the argument itself is not a pivot to another argument, so you can pin them down. So he's very good at that, right? Let's say I grant you argument, and that way they just don't go crazy, and then you can just give a qualifier or destroy their own worldview easily. I used that a couple times already. I used that a couple times, and it does work. It does work. Because what happens is if you don't grant arguments, what happens is they just keep going in circles and circles and circles, and they never give you, then the conversation never goes anywhere. Let's see. What else do we have here? They say he was in an open relationship with that wife of yours and the children. That is just just. And you know what the crazy thing is, and it makes sense why he's kind of crazy right now, because the red pill and the manosphere, they were right. That's the craziest thing. He was right. They were right about Destiny's relationship, circular argument strategy. Yeah, You mean Destiny or a lot of these lefties? That's what they used. Yeah, that way they just confuse you. You never get to a point. But by granting some of the argument, you stop that circular argument strategy. Yep, I agree. It's gonna take me some time, right? Because I need to practice more vocabulary at my end, and that way I can have better debates with some of these folks. But I'm not afraid to just have some of these debates, because we need them. We need some of these debates. For deeper debates, I would just leave that to Andrew Wilson. Some of these folks, they can have a deeper conversation when it comes down to these topics. Yeah. Yep. So that was that. That was Andrew Wilson killing, metaphorically YouTube, Destiny and Cornel West. Cornel West. That's his name. I don't know. Yeah, I know. I need to have a little bit of income to just buy his course. I think it's worth it. It's completely worth it. He's very good at it. I think he was an engineer or something like that before. So his mind is very crystal clear when it comes down to arguments, and he's very good at just jumping from one to another and understanding different ways to just confront the same arguments. It's crazy, and you see them a lot. You see him a lot doing it in whatever podcast. Sometimes he changed the questions to avoid. Sometimes he changed the question by asking the question like. He takes the same question, changed it, just to get the how can I say this? Just to get like a different answer, but without changing the structure of the question. It's weird. It's weird. He's very good at that. Try Andrew's debate university course. I will. As soon as I get some money on my side, I will. Because it's gonna help me a lot. And also I'm reading a lot currently. I need to read more Greek philosophy as well. Greek philosophy. I'm currently reading the Bible more and depth. I'm going through the Psalms because I need some spirituality in me right now. So that's gonna help me. But we need to, support each other, support your most, support Andrew. Some of these other folks are just really. There's different. How I see this is just different people and different battles, right? It's like the battles of Gettysburg, the battle. If you see the Civil War, there's multiple battles, right? Multiple fronts. It's like the Ukraine and Russia, right? Different fronts. I need to do that as well. Yeah, because you know what's crazy? Something I had to say about Charlie Kirk, when it came down to being Christian, he never apologized. And that's something that a lot of Christians need to understand, especially for me. I need to go through that process of understanding, spiritual understanding, to make sure I never doubt my belief or my faith. That's gonna be a harder path, because I need to go through a lot of spirituality. And I think the best way for Christians, what I noticed, for Christian is the Bible, right? So just make sure you can go and read the Bible, because I think our Christianity, the faith, comes from reading, which is interesting, right? A lot of reading. Yeah. So there you have it, folks. This was the debate. Andrew Wilson. Make sure you guys, of course, support the channel. Make sure you guys share the channel. I might do discourse in the future, and that way we can just have more deeper conversation. We can just share content. We can share, a lot of stuff. I might do more, like Zoom calls and stuff like that. That way we can just have more, personal, relation with y'all. But those are the kind of idea for the channel. The Christian moral system built the greatest civilizations on earth. Correct. We built it. Not only that, but they're using that empathy that created that greatest civilization against us. They're using that empathy, and because we lack faith in the last 30 years, I will say even 40 years. I'll even extend it to 50 years. I'm just saying, like, pro-hippie, post 1970s. I think we were something happened where we started doubting our faith to a point of just allowing people to use it against us. People that don't even believe in Christianity, they're using Christianity against us, and we failed because our faith was very, very weak. This is how I see it. Yeah. All right, folks. Well, thank you so much for the conversation. Great chat. Great back and forward. I love your guys' comment. Always good stuff. I never knew the situation about Destiny. People were saying that he was taking some stuff, but I couldn't believe it. But now you guys are kind of just verifying that. So it might be true that he takes some weird stuff. I don't know. All right, guys.